Welcome to Meals with Maria. Today we're making 3 amazing summer sides. These sides are super easy, budget friendly. They come from cans in the cabinet for the most part. We're not cooking. We're not gonna be heating up the house by working on the stove. These are things that you're gonna make, set in the refrigerator, and they're gonna be nice and cold and delicious for your dinner on a hot summer day. Most importantly, we're not buying anything crazy or special for most of them. We're just gonna be grabbing what we have in the pantry and making do. These things are my family's favorites and I'm excited to share them with you. The first recipe is for a fresh black bean salad, and this has been my go-to for years when I'm like, okay, what am I gonna serve as a side? Or if I'm going to a barbecue or a cookout and I'm said I'm gonna bring something, but I don't have any like fresh stuff in the fridge, or I have this and that and scraps of whatnot. The fresh black bean salad is such a crowd pleaser and it is so easy to throw together. So in this case, I have a little bit of some red onion, but you could use yellow or Vidalia onion if you have it. And if you don't have fresh onion, you could also use onion powder. For this salad, you can kind of put things in it or take things out of it. And as long as you have like your mainstays, your black beans and your corn, you're gonna be all set. Because I'm just cooking for my family today, I'm just making a smaller version because the kids really aren't gonna eat that much of the black bean salad. So I'm cutting it down by 1/3. The full recipe, which I will post in the description box below, says to use a cup of onion for 8 people, but I cut mine down to probably less than 1/4 cup because that's just too much for me. Scallions are also a great option here if you kind of grow them on the counter or you just have some of those. They're super cheap and easy to throw in. And then I'm dicing up a little bit of tomato. The recipe calls for a cup of quartered cherry tomatoes. I just have, I think they're like Campari tomatoes. Whatever you have on hand. I've done this salad plenty of times with no fresh tomatoes and it's totally fine. Like I said, you just need those basics of your black beans and your corn, and you're making a little vinaigrette and you're pretty much ready to go. For the dressing, I'm using 1/8 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, 1/8 a cup of white wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of lime juice, 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, if you don't have white wine vinegar and you only have red wine vinegar, that would be absolutely fine here too. If you want to use any different oil, like an avocado oil or a canola oil, that would also work. I'm just slicing up about 1/4 cup of fresh cilantro. You could also use dried cilantro, you could use parsley, or you could even use like a fresh basil or dried basil, and that would just change the salad a little bit, but I think those all would be really good flavors in this. For this 1/3 of the recipe, I am using 1 can of black beans and about 1/4 of a can of canned corn, and I did drain both of those. Now you could also use fresh corn here and just cut the corn off of ears of corn. You can also add yellow, orange, green bell pepper. The recipe also calls for fresh jalapeno finely chopped, but we weren't gonna do that because it's just too spicy for us. Once everything is mixed, you just want to cover and pop this in the fridge for a couple of hours. And then once it comes out and you're ready to eat it, you can top it with whatever you have on hand. You don't have to top it with anything, but if you want to, you could use some queso fresco. You could use feta cheese. That's what we ended up using, was a feta. It also tastes really good with some diced avocado. We personally serve this with a turkey burger, which I'll put the video down below that is in because that is the best turkey burger ever. And some twice baked potatoes also in one of my videos, Great Depression meals. So I'll pop those down in the description box if you want to check out how to make the whole meal. You can click on those, but stick around because we have some more amazing salads coming up. This next one is a Mexican street corn from the Skinny-ish dish, and it is a family favorite for years now, and I'm so excited to share it with you. I love this because the original recipe I think calls for fresh corn, but if I don't have fresh corn on hand, I just grab a couple cans of corn, which is so inexpensive, throw that in there and we're ready to go. It's also a huge time saver. So to 2 cans of drained corn, you wanna add 1/4 cup of light mayonnaise or whatever mayonnaise you have on hand, 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Greek yogurt would be an option here as well. Then 3.5 tablespoons of cojita, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, cheese, or you could use queso fresco. And as you can see, I mean, I'm really not following the 3.5 tablespoons because I already have the cheese, so I'm throwing it in there because it's delicious. I've made this before with just a shredded cheddar cheese or no cheese at all because really I usually have sour cream and mayo around, but maybe not necessarily that kind of cheese. So it's still delicious if you have those basics. Then you add 1 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper if you'd like, but I don't usually add that, and some lime juice. If you have a fresh lime, go ahead and juice an entire lime. You can see I squeezed about a tablespoon of lime juice on there, but you can do more or less depending on your preferences. Then you just want to mix everything until well combined. And then you can either leave that as it is. I've eaten this cold many times. I've even brought it camping and I thought it was delicious, but I think traditionally a Mexican street corn is going to be warm. So you can either pan fry it for 3 to 5 minutes in a small pan, or you can heat it up in the microwave for 1.5 to 2 minutes, which is what I did on this particular night. To the top of it, I added a little bit of cilantro. You could also add some finely chopped green onions, and I added a little extra cheese on top, and it always looks a little pretty if you add like a drizzle of hot sauce or a sprinkle of the chili powder just to top it off. This is a huge crowd pleaser. Like I said, this is one of my husband's absolute favorites. He'll always go in for seconds or thirds, and the kids love it because they absolutely love corn. We serve this with a cornflake chicken and some potato and carrot mash. It was so good. Everything went so well together. All the videos and recipes for the additional chicken and potatoes will be in the description box, as well as the recipe for the Mexican street corn. This next recipe is for a simple cucumber salad, and I know this is great because cucumbers are going to be so cheap this time of year, or if you grow some in your garden, you're going to have so many, you're not going to know what to do with them all. So a cucumber salad is the perfect light addition to your dinner. You really just want to start off with your favorite red or white wine vinaigrette dressing. Mine is about 1/6 cup of white wine vinegar, 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, a 1/2 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of sugar, and a pinch of salt. And if you want to put some black pepper in there, go ahead and do that as well. You're really going to want about 2 of these regular cucumbers or 1 large English cucumber. And if you do have an English cucumber, you do not have to peel it if you don't mind the skin on it. In the case of the cucumbers like these, I'm trying to think of what the name of them is. I'm not exactly sure, but the skin is very bitter and strong. So personally, I do like to peel those, and I only had 1 on hand. So I was trying to kind of fill up the salad with some radishes from my garden, which tasted delicious, but you will see that there was a lot of dressing for kind of the amount of cucumber that I have. So if I were to do it next time, I would just cut that dressing in half again, or make some and save it for later, just because it was a lot of dressing for the amount of vegetables that I had. If you have fresh dill, you definitely want to add that to the salad. I did have some in my little herb garden. It's super easy to grow and it tastes amazing when it is fresh, but you can get that dried dill or some that you can kind of like reconstitute at the grocery store, and that's kind of nice because it lasts a while. As I always say, just use what you have. And then I added in about 1/4 cup of sour cream, and you can use as little or as much of this as you want. You can see my salad's getting a little soupy because it has a lot of dressing and a lot of sour cream in it. The flavor was phenomenal. Like, this was so good, I couldn't stop eating it. But in the future, you may want to use a little less dressing depending on how many cucumbers, or a little more cucumbers and radishes. Radishes are a complete optional addition to this. The cucumbers on their own are just fine. You just want to sprinkle that dill in, and then I think the best timing on this is to actually put it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes before you serve it with dinner, so it has a little bit of time to marinate, but it doesn't get soggy, so it's nice and crispy, nice and cold, especially on a hot day in the summer. This is an amazing addition to any meal, and it is so inexpensive because cucumbers can be as low as like 50 cents. I want to thank you all so much for watching today. Make sure to give this video a like because you're going to love using these summer recipes. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because if you're watching this and you want to see more like this, you want to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit that notification bell. I am posting budget recipes 3 times a week these days. If you want to see some awesome summer budget chicken recipes, make sure to click on the video at the end of this video and you can see some great stuff just like this cornflake chicken and many other amazing ones. What did you think of the cucumber salad last night?
Good.
Yeah? Can you give it a thumbs up?